Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will give introduction to Edio.NET. Edio.NET is an object-oriented set of libraries that allows you to interact with data sources. Commonly, the data source is database, but it could be also be a text file, an Excel spreadsheet, or an XML file. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will look at Edio.NET as a way to interact with database. As you are probably aware, there are many different types of database available. For example, there is a Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access, or a Oracle. So let's see various data providers to access these databases. Edio.NET data providers are class libraries that allows a common way to interact with specific data sources or protocols. The library APIs have prefixes that indicate which provider they support. So these are the various provider names and which API prefix is used to particular provider. There are various providers like ODBC, OLEDB, Oracle Data Provider, SQL Data Provider, and Borland Data Provider. And these are the various prefix used to access the APIs for this provider. One of the first Edio.NET objects you will learn about is the connection object, which allows you to establish a connection to data source. If we were using the OLEDB data provider to connect to a data source that exposes an OLEDB interface, we would use a connection object named OLEDB connection. Similarly, the connection object name would be prefixed with ODBC or SQL for an ODBC connection object on an ODBC data source or SQL connection object on SQL Server database respectively. So this is all about introduction to Edio.NET, which are the providers and which prefix is used to access that provider. In our example, we will use SQL connection because we are using SQL Server. So this is introduction to Edio.NET. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will see and study Edio.NET objects. Edio.NET includes many objects you can use to work with data. These sections introduce some of the primary objects you will use. Over the course of this tutorial, you will be exposed to many more Edio.NET objects from the perspective of how they are used in particular tutorial. So let's see various objects of Edio.NET. First is the SQL connection object. To interact with the database, you must have a connection to it. The connection helps identify the database server, the database name, username, password, and other parameters that are required for connection to the database. A connection object is used by a command object, so they will know which database to execute the command on. Now let's see SQL command object. The process of interacting with database means that you must specify the action you want to occur. This is done with a command object. You can use a command object to send SQL statement to the database. A command object uses a SQL connection object to figure out which database to communicate with. Now let's see SQL data reader object. Many data operations require that you only get a stream of data for a reading. The data reader object allows you to obtain the result of select statement from a command object. For a performance reason, the data written from data reader is a fast forward only. This means that you can only pull the data from the stream in a sequential manner. This is good for speed. So this is about SQL data reader object. Now let's see DataSet object. DataSet objects are in memory representation of data. They contain multiple data table objects which contain columns and rows just like normal database tables. You can even define relationship between tables to create parent-child relationship. The dataset is specifically designed to help manage data in memory and to support disconnected operation on data when such a scenario makes sense. So this is about dataset object. Now let's see last object, which is SQL DataAdapter object. Sometimes The data you work with the primarily read only and you rarely need to make changes to the underlying data source. Some situations also call for caching the data in memory to minimize the number of database calls for data that doesn't change. The DataAdapter makes it easy for you to accomplish these things by helping to manage data in disconnected mode. So this is about various objects of Adio.NET. Use of these all objects we will see in further tutorials. This is just introduction to all objects. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to create database in Adio.NET. So we have already created one website. So go to Solution Explorer and in app underscore data folder, right click and add new item. Select SQL Server database and give name to database. I am giving customer and click on add. So one database will be created and it will be open in Server Explorer. You can see customer database is created. The extension of SQL Server database is .mdf. Now to add the tables, right click on table folder and select add new table. So one tab will be open which will ask for column name, data type and allow nulls. I want to write name, data type of name to varchar 15 and allow nulls to false. Now I want to add one more column city to integer and address, data type of address to varchar 50. To save this table, press Ctrl S and give table name. I am giving customer must and press OK. So table is created. So this is the way by which we can create tables and create database. In further example, we will see how to relate and how to give relationship and constraint to this table. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to give relationship to tables and constraints. So we have already created two tables. One is the customer must and one is the city must. So let's give primary key to this customer number. Primary key is used to uniquely identify each column. So if you want to set primary key, then right click on the column and select set primary key. So this will set primary key to column. Now to create relationship between table, go to Server Explorer, right click on database diagram and click on add new diagram. It will ask for do you wish to create them? Press yes. Select table to which you want to give relationship. Now I have selected two tables which is customer must and city must. My city of customer must is related with city must table. So I want to give the foreign key relationship between this customer must and city must table. This is the child column which is derived from the city must table and this will be the code of city, not the actual name. So I am giving relationship to city must table primary key which is city code. So primary key table is city must and foreign key table is customer must. Press OK and relationship is given. So this is the way by which we can create database diagram, and database diagram is the representation of relationship between various tables. So this is about giving relationship between tables and constraints. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to enter data in tables. At a time of entering data, we have to consider some points. So we have created two tables. One is a city must and another is a customer must. So in which table we have to first enter data? So First, find the primary key table which doesn't contain any foreign keys. So citymast is the one table which doesn't contain any foreign key. So first we have to enter the data in citymast table. So to enter the data in citymast table, right click on the citymast table and select show table data. It will open one new tab and ask for entering data. We have given primary key to city code and auto increment to this column. So no need to enter the data in city code, but we have to enter the data in city name. So I am writing Pune, means I am entering the data in city name Jaipur. So this is the way by which we can enter the data in primary key table. Now let's enter the data in foreign key table. So open the foreign key table. We can directly enter the name of customer. So write the name of the customer in name column. I am writing Hitesh. Note that city is the foreign key column and it is related with city mass table. So we have to write city code, not city name, because we have given relationship to city code. So if I want to set the city of the Hitesh to Ahmedabad, so I have to write here 4 number, which is the city code of Ahmedabad, and enter the address of Hitesh, Raipur. Now I am making another entry, Ashok, and city to Bombay, which have code 2, address to Bandra. So we have entered 4 rows in this customer mass table and we have entered particular city code for each customer. So this is the way by which we can enter the data in the table. Most important thing to consider is foreign key relationship. When we are entering data in tables, we must have to first enter the data in primary key table. After that, we can enter data in foreign key tables. So relationship doesn't get violated. So this is about how to enter the data in tables. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to use SQL connection object and how to create SQL connection with database. So we have created one form in which we are retrieving fields information of customer, and we have created one button to create connection. So double click on the button and generate click event of button. Now to create a connection with SQL database, we need APIs. So write using system.data.sql client. This is the API or engine which is used to interact with database, and write one more API to access web config file, which is system.web.configuration. Now to access any database we need connection string, means where is your database located. We can retrieve connection string using two ways: by viewing property of database and seeing connection string property, and other way is the connection string is located in web.config.file. So this is the connection string and it is written in XML format, and the connection string name is given to connection string, which is con, mean connection. So in this example, we will access the connection string from web.config file. So we have included this API, which is web.configuration. Now to create SQL connection object is used to, so write SQL connection object name. I am writing CN After that is equal to write new operator and SQL connection. In SQL connection, we have to pass a parameter which is the connection string. So I am writing web configuration manager dot connection string. In bracket, I have to pass connection string name which is our con and dot to string which is used to convert to string. Now we have created connection object. Now to open the connection, cn.open method is used to open the connection. Now I want to check that connection is opened or not, and I want to display a message in label that if connection is open, then it will print connection is open. So I have opened the connection. Now I want to check the state of connection. So to check the state, I am using if else condition. So checking cn dot state is equal to connection state dot open, then I am printing lbl message dot text is equal to connection open successfully. Else I am printing lbl message connection is not open. Now let's run and check the output. We are clicking on the create connection button. We can see connection open successfully. So we have successfully connected to database. Now make changes to this connection string argument. I am writing wrong connection string and run the database. Click on the create connection. We can see we are finding an error. So if connection is not created or wrong connection string is passed, then it will generate error. So we have to write this code in try catch block so we can find an error. So this is about how to create connection and how to open the connection in our website application. So this is about opening and creating connection. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn about how to insert data using SQL command. So you can see we have created already one form which accepts value from the user. And on click event of save button, we will insert data into the customer master table. So double click on the save button. You can see we have created SQL connection. Now you already know about how to create SQL connection and how to open that SQL connection. We have written one query which is insert into customer master, and we have passed value from text boxes and drop down which is created in form. So we are retrieving value from the form by this way. Now to execute this query, we are using SQL command. So first write SQL command. This is the class which is used to create object of SQL command, and write the object name to cmd is equal to new SQL command. Now SQL command class accept two parameter to its constructor. So first pass SQL query which is our query variable, and second connection. So it is the connection object which is cn. Now we have created SQL command. Now to execute this query, we have to write cmd dot execute non-query, which IntelliSense will automatically show, and call this function. This is the syntax to execute any query which doesn't returns any value. So we can execute insert query using execute known query function of SQL command. Now I am displaying message in label control that data inserted. Now let's run and check whether the data is inserted to table or not. Write any customer name, Viren, address of customer to Bhindi Bazaar and click on the save. We can see error is displayed that connection is not open. So we have to write this cn.open before executing query. Now rerun the application. Viren and Bhindi Bazaar. Save. We can see label is displaying message that data is inserted. Now let's check the value in database. Open the customer master tables data. We can see data is inserted of Viren. So this is about how to execute query using SQL command. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to update data using SQL command. So, like previous example, we have already created form. Click on the update button and let's code for the updating data. First, write query in string variable. Update customer must set name is equal to txt name dot text. City is equal to drp city dot selected value. Address is equal to. At a time of updating, we have to write where clause. So define here condition where customer number is equal to 5. 5 is the customer number for Viren. So we are updating details of Viren which is entered into the text boxes of form. Now first open the connection of database. I am declaring one SQL command passing query and connection object. Like a previous example, cmd dot execute known query and displaying message in label that data updated. Now let's run. Writing name which is new name to Viren to Dhiren. I'm changing its city and writing address. Click on the update. You can see data is updated. So when query executes successfully, then and then execute non-query function will completed. So this is about how to update data using SQL command. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to delete data from database using SQL command and from details which is entered in form. So first go to the event of button. We have already created SQL connection and query variable of string type. Now write delete query in this variable. I am writing delete from table name which is customer, delete from must where name is equal to the name which is entered in text box txt name. So the name which is entered in this text box which we have created in the form will be deleted from the must table. Now open the connection using cn.open function and create SQL command cmd passing query to the command passing connection object like previous example, we have to just execute this query. So cmd dot execute non-query function, and I am changing the label value and displaying message that data deleted. So this is the syntax of query to delete data from the table, and let's check by run. I want to delete the detail of Dhiren. So I have written the Dhiren in this txt name text box. I am clicking on the delete button. We can see data is deleted. So label is displaying this message. Now let's check into the database. We can see we cannot find the data of Dhiren. So this is about how to delete data from database using Edio.NET SQL command and execute non-query function. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will study about data tables. A data table stores data in a similar form to a database table. Data is stored in a set of fields called columns and records, which is rows. The data table class is a central class in Edio.NET architecture. It can be used independently and in DataSet object. A data table consists of column collection and a row collection, and one more constraints collection. The column collection combined with the constraint collection defines the data table schema, while the row collection contains the data, which is similar to our database table. Now let's see first column collection. The column collection is an instance of the data column collection class, and it is a container object for 0 or more data column object. The data column object defines the data table column, including the column name, the data type, and any primary key or incremental numbering information. Now let's see another row collection. The row collection is an instance of the data row collection class and is a container for 0 or more data row object. The data row object contains the data in the data table as defined by the data table dot columns dot collection. Each data row has one item per data column in the column collection. So this is about row collection. Now let's see constraint collection. The constraint collection is an instance of the constraint collection class and is a container for 0 or more foreign key constraints object and or a unique key constraint object. The foreign key constraint object defines the action to be taken on column in a primary key foreign key relationship when a row is updated or deleted, and the unique key constraint is used to force all the values in a column to be unique. So this is about data table, and it is a brief introduction of data table. We will use the data table in next video tutorial when we will retrieve data from the database. So this is the basic introduction to data table. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to retrieve data from database using data reader. So we have created one form. So on click button of retrieve button, we will retrieve data and we will display it into label. We have already defined connection and query, which is select star from customers. Now open the connection using cn.open. Define one iDataReader, which is the data reader. Now we can execute this query and store this result in reader object. So we have to execute this query using SQL command. So let's create SQL command. pass query and connection object. Data returned from the query will be stored in reader object. So write reader, and to execute this query which returns the value from the database, we have to write cmd dot execute reader, which is the method to retrieve value from the database of command. So we have written cmd dot execute reader. Now this will retrieve and load the value into reader object. Now we have to display the value which is in reader object. So write while reader dot read. I want to display the name of the customer into label. So lbl message dot text is equal to reader dot get string, and in get string method we have to pass the index of column. I want to show name, which is the column number 1. Not that index is start from 0, so I am passing 1. So we have displayed the names of the customer in lbl message. Now let's run the page. Click on the retrieve button. We can see the names which is present in the database is displayed, which is Hitesh, Ashok, Harsh, Rishi and Dhiren. So this is about reader, and using reader how we can retrieve data from the database. In next tutorial we will see data table and use of data table. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial we will learn how to bind data with GridView and using data table. So we have taken one GridView and we have given GridView name to gdcust. Now click on the retry button and see we have created query select star from customast, and we have also created one reader which is rdr. This is the same code of previous example. Now create data table. Data table can be created using data table class. Write object name is equal to new and data table. We have already executed the query using execute reader method. Now to store the value which is retrieved from the database in data table, dt dot load method is used to store the data which is retrieved from the database into data table. Load method accept one argument which is reader. So we have to pass reader which contains the value of database, and we have passed rdr to load method. Now we have given gd cust to data grid. Now to bind this data table data to grid view, gd cust dot data source, which is data source of grid view. So we are giving data source to grid view is equal to data table. After giving the data source to grid view, we have to bind grid view with one method called data bind. So write gd dot data bind. So this method will bind grid view with new data. So let's see effect of data table and how data is retrieved from the database, and how we have bind the data using data table to grid view. Click on the retrieve button. We can see the data is retrieved from the database and it is binded to the grid view. So this is the method how we can retrieve the data and store it into the data table and bind it to the data grid view. So this is about data table and binding data with GridView. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will see how to add data column and data row to data table. Till now, we have seen connected database using SQL connection. Data table is used to store data in memory using disconnected database. So we have created one data table, and now we will add data column to this data table, and this data table will act as a table which is in database. To add new data column in data table, we have to write data table name in which we want to add column dot column dot add. Add method accept two parameters. First is the name of column. I want to give name of customer, and second parameter contains data type of column. So type dot get type dot get type, and we have to pass string of data type name system dot string. So this is the data type of column. Now let's add one more column dt dot columns dot add. Now we have added two columns to data table dt. Now if we want to add data row, then we have to create first data row object. So dr is equal to, we have to add data row in data table dt. So dt dot new row method is used to create new row. Now to insert the value in row, we have to write dr and name of the column, name of customer, and we have to assign value to the column Dhiren. And at the end we have to add this row into data table. So dt dot rows dot add in data row name. Now we have already given the data source to GridView, which is dt, and we have already bind the GridView with data bind method. Now let's run and check. We are clicking on retry button. We can see data table is created and it is binded to the GridView. So this is how we can add data column and data row to table. This is a data table. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial we will learn about DataSet. The dataset is the centerpiece of disconnected data-driven application. It is an in-memory representation of complete set of data, including tables, relationships, and constraints. The dataset doesn't maintain a connection to a data source, enabling true disconnected data management. The data in dataset can be accessed, manipulated, updated, or deleted, and then reconciled with original data source. Since the dataset is disconnected from the data source, there is a less contention for valuable resources such as database connection and less record locking. In previous video, we have looked at how to dynamically create data table objects and populate them with data. However, we will usually be working with data store, and we will be populating a dataset with table data from the data store. We can of course populate a dataset with this data table object also, but more often we will be working with database data. So how to create dataset? Here we have shown the dataset object. So to create dataset object, dataset class is used. After that we have to write dataset object name, and using new operator we can create dataset object. To populate the dataset, a dataset with dynamically created data table, use the dataset.tables collection add method. So this is the example of adding the data table to dataset using my dataset, which is our dataset.tables.add method, and we have to pass dt, which is our data table object, as a parameter. On the other hand, Edu.NET provides an object, the DataAdapter, which is what we use with dataset. The DataAdapter is a bridge between database and dataset. The data adapter is used to manage a connection to database, execute a command, and return any data to dataset. So this is the introduction about dataset. We have also seen how to create dataset object. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn and manipulate data adapter. So, so we have a code of SQL connection and data table. So we already know about data table and how to retrieve data from the database. Now we are retrieving data using the data adapter. So we are first creating data adapter object, which is SQL data adapter DA using new SQL data adapter. We are also creating data set. So create dataset object using dataset class that you also know. Now all the required things we have created. Now to fill the data into data adapter, we have to write da dot select command is equal to command name, which is our CMD. So it will select the data from the database from this query. Now to fill the data set, fill method of data adapter is used. So write da.fill and write dataset name, which is our DS, and we are retrieving customer tables data. So we are making one table into dataset called cust. So currently dataset contains one table. Now we want to access the table. Now we want to copy this table into our data table. So write dt is equal to ds dot tables of 0, means our dataset contains only one table, so we are just passing 0 index, and set data source of GridView to dt. Now let's run the page. Let's click on the retrieve button on which we have coded this all thing. We can see, although we have not used the data reader, we have retrieved the data from the database using the data adapter class. So this is the use of data adapter and data set. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to add parameter to simple text query. So we have written one query to insert the data in customized table, and in value we have given parameter, which is @name. See, we have not passed actual data which is coming from txt name text box. So we are now declaring SQL parameter is equal to new SQL parameter. Now I want to give parameter name. So parameter name is equal to @name, which I have passed in query, and value to this parameter is given from the text box. So I am giving value to this parameter from txt name.text. Now create SQL command. cmd.parameters.add method is used to add the parameter to command. My parameter name is para. Now we can execute this query ordinary way. So I am opening cn.open connection and executing this query cmd.execute.nonQuery. So this will add the data in the customized table. Only one field will be added. So now let's run. I am adding Vishwas to name of customer and clicking on retrieve. Vishwas is added to the database. So now let's check the database. We can see Vishwas is added to database. No other field is added. So this is the use of parameter. When parameters are same and value is coming from different source, then we can use this parameter. Thank you. Welcome friends. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to call stored procedure using ADO.NET object. So we have created one procedure named city insert to enter the city name in city mass table. We have also created form to accept city name from user. Now we have created connection and SQL parameter object. Now let's first define the SQL parameter. So we have to write parameter name which is written in stored procedure. Our name is name. In this parameter value will come from txt city.text. Now create SQL command. cmd is equal to new. In first write stored procedure name. Where we write query, in place we have to write stored procedure name. Or stored procedure name is city insert and give connection. Now give cmd dot command type is equal to command type dot stored procedure. So now this will act as a stored procedure and add parameter to command add and execute this stored procedure using cmd dot execute non-query. It is very simple to execute stored procedure. It is same like executing query with parameters. Now let's run. Enter city name. I am entering Bhavnagar and click on insert. We can see data is inserted into the table. So this is how we can use stored procedure to insert the data. So this is about how to insert the data using stored procedure by calling the stored procedure using ADO.NET objects like command and SQL parameter. Thank you.